Welcome to the Think, Learn, Grow podcast. This is your brother, your host, Mr. West. I appreciate you all tapping in for another episode of Think, Learn, Grow podcast. This is the first episode of the Think, Learn, Grow podcast. And today we're going to go into the power of mindset, how to cultivate a growth mindset. This is a very important topic to talk about when it talks about mindset and the importance of it. One, because mindset is really key to everything. Understanding that your mindset is what's going to either cause you to see more success or be the key or the reason behind many of the so-called failures that you experience. Not having the right mindset could be the same thing that's going to cause you not to see things from the right perspective. So having a growth mindset is very important. Understanding the differences between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset is very important to identify where you are, to know what improvements you need to make in order to actually get to where you want to go. If you don't know what a fixed mindset is and you're moving up believing that you have a growth mindset, but in all actuality you have a fixed mindset, that could be the reason why you feel like you keep hitting that brick wall and not making any progress. We're also going to get into different strategies on how to develop a growth mindset. So, if you are striving to come from a fixed mindset, going to a growth mindset, we're going to talk about different strategies to help you move forward in your journey to get that. And then we're also going to get into some real life examples of how to implement and what it looks like to have a growth mindset as well. So let's just dive right in. Again, thank you for coming and tapping into the Think, Learn, Grow podcast. This entire podcast is based on self improvement, having strategies and conversations centered around being able to grow as an individual, not just professionally, but more importantly, personally. Without any personal development, you don't have any true professional development. So, no matter how much business success you think that you want to have, if you don't grow as a person, the business success will be that much more difficult to be able to achieve. And once you realize that, the more you grow as a person, everything else around that, as far as your finances, your family life, your relationships, your business, all of that automatically begins to grow the more you begin to grow as a person. So let's just get into it. Understanding the differences between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. One of the biggest differences between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset is one, a fixed mindset, just as the word says, is fixed. It means that it is linear, or you're going in one direction. You're not moving. There's no progress. There's no gradual increase in the way that you're looking at things. So your perspective is very limited. Your perception is very limited. So when you think about a fixed mindset, you can think of it as being very pessimistic. You can think about a fixed mindset as one that does not want growth. Just as simple as that. Fixed mindset compared to a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is centered around staying the same. It's fixed. It's always looking to be constant in what it's doing now. It's okay with complacency. It's okay with where you are now. It's not looking at the bigger picture. It's not looking at things from the perspective of what better things can be done, what improvement can be made. It's comfortable, it's complacent, it's stagnant. When you think about growth mindset is all about ambition. It's all about being optimistic. It's all about moving forward and growing. Just like it says in the name of it, growth mindset is all about growth. So the difference between the two is the growth mindset is you're always looking for an opportunity to improve on what you're doing. Even if you have reached some level of success, having a growth mindset allows you to then see what improvements can you make to achieve even more success, or how to sustain or maintain the level of success that you have. What do you need to do as an individual to keep adding on skill sets? What do you need to do as an individual to be uh, more able or willing to learn something new to be able to progress in life? That's one of the major differences between the two. So when you think about the impacts that a growth mindset and a fixed mindset can have, when you think about it from a corporate standpoint, right? Having a fixed mindset, and you think about the corporate ladder or the career development or professional development process that you could be in working a particular job, if you start off as a cashier, having a fixed mindset, you'll see yourself as a cashier for the next 10, 15, 20 years. You'll start at an entry level position at a cashier, and then throughout your entire career, you never move from the cash register. You never move to becoming a supervisor. You never move to becoming a manager. You don't look at being a general manager or a district manager or being able to get into human resources or expanding your skill sets to be able to do work in other departments or do different tasks within that same job. You're fixed on what I came in is what I'm going to be when I retire. That's an example of a fixed mindset. The other side of that is a growth mindset. And how that impacts you is that you're always looking for opportunities to make yourself that much more valuable, which then helps you move further up in the ranks of whatever you are in. If you're looking at it from the standpoint of a job, if you started as a cash register, you're trying to figure out what skill sets can I learn that's going to help me develop to become a better team player so that I can move forward into my career. You're looking at different opportunities, even if it's from the perspective of not necessarily more pay, but you want to get exposed to a different department so that you can learn a new skill set, which then makes you that much more valuable. So if you do move up in rank, you're able to say, I know what goes on in this department. I know what goes on in this department, what happens behind the customer service counter. I know what's going on in these areas. So I now have a better perspective of what other people are going through. So now I can lead them because I'm aware of what's being done. You also become more responsible because you have more skills. You now have more responsibilities to take care of, and that you consider dependable because there's more that you can do. So there's more that you're going to be held accountable to do as well. When it comes to your personal side of that, so we spoke specifically to the professional development of what a growth mindset and a fixed mindset has as far as impacts. But as far as your personal development, when you have a fixed mindset, you're beginning to look at things as the way they are is the way they're always going to be. Who you are right now with a fixed mindset is who you will be until you pass away, until you transition. Now, that can be very impactful because you don't grow. You're not looking for opportunities to become better. If you're not necessarily happy with the way that your life is, if you have a fixed mindset, then your personal development does not change. You continue to be in that particular loop of life where things are always happening the same way. You're always disappointed, you're always frustrated, and you're always complaining, but you're not doing anything about it. The difference from that in a growth mindset is that you're looking for opportunities to improve. You're looking at your current landscape of your life and you're saying, okay, this needs to change, that needs to change. I need to be better at communication. I need to be more consistent here. I need to develop a schedule, a routine that's going to keep me on point. I need to be able to have some people around me to hold me accountable. I need to be self accountable. I need to check myself when I'm not doing what I said I'm going to do. And these opportunities that you actually act upon will actually propel you to grow as a better person. The better you become as a communicator, not only with yourself when it comes to expressing your feelings, when it comes to expressing your ideas, when it comes to acting on ideas that you have and executing on your plans that you set for yourself, helps you be able to do that with other people as well. Not necessarily for other people, but with them, because you're able to represent what it is that you want to embody or what you want to manifest. It makes it easier for others to go along with that plan or to collaborate with you to as far as what their plans are as well. So thinking about it from that perspective is always good. So when we think about a growth mindset, we want to think about what are some practical strategies for developing a growth mindset. Well, the first thing that I would recommend is exposing yourself to new environments. One of the big impediments to the type of mindset that you have is the environment that you're in. A good quote to think about is that your environment would change you before you change your environment. Just because you feel as if you want to reach certain goals or you want to attain certain levels of success, if you want to say in your mind that you want to become something new or become something better, does not mean that your environment is just going to comply with what it is that you're setting out to do. So sometimes you need to get out of your current environment, even if it's not necessarily physically, You may just need to change your circle. You may not be able to change where you live at on a easy way, or from a instant point. You may not be able to just pick up and move to another place, but you can change who you're communicating with. You can change the amount of time that you're communicating with your current circle of friends. You can change the way that or the things that you consume, whether it's entertainment, watching TV, YouTube, uh, Instagram, social media. If you start to change that which you feed on, this thing about social media, your feed, if you change what you're looking at, what you're consuming, you now are able to get some different thoughts. If you start following or reading material, whether it's books, like I have books, I love to read books. The more you consume something that's different from your norm, the different thoughts will begin to be produced in your mind. You're already setting yourself up to have a growth mindset because you're looking at things from a different perspective. Sometimes what can limit us is that we don't have the necessary language of growth already in us. We may not be using a vocabulary for growth. We could be using a fixed mindset vocabulary trying to do some new things. And we're realizing that the way that we're speaking, not only to ourselves, but to those in our community or to those that could help us, is very limited. It's very fixed. So we need to be able to read. We have to consume. We have to take in some new language, some new vocabulary, so that we can begin to speak at the level in which that we want to grow. It's kind of like from a professional standpoint, it's said and it's commonly used to dress for the job that you want to have. If you're dressing or changing the way that you look based off of where you want to go, people begin to look at you from a different perspective. You even look at yourself from a different perspective. So just because your job may not call for you to wear a suit and tie, it may not call for you to dress more formal. If you begin to do that, people begin to respect you on a different level because they say this person is striving for something more than what they currently have. And then from a mental standpoint, you looking at yourself from a higher degree as well. You're looking at yourself because you're taking more time to get yourself prepared. You're taking more time to get yourself dressed, respecting yourself. You're making sure that you're presentable because you know that if I dress in a way that I'm ready for an opportunity, when the opportunity comes, I can capitalize on it. But if you're not showing up already in your mind that you're ready for an opportunity, and then you don't present yourself from a physical standpoint where that opportunity can then be executed on, you're now blocking some of your blessings. You're now missing opportunities that you could execute on that you may not get again. Some opportunities are once in a lifetime. Some opportunities you have to be able to execute on them at that time. And if you don't execute on them at that time, you can find yourself getting disappointed in yourself. That begins a downward spiral to a point of self-sabotage where you begin to feel as if you're not cut out for certain activities, you're not cut out for certain jobs, you're not cut out for certain levels of achievement because you're not preparing yourself to be able to hit those levels of achievement as well. So some real life examples. I know for myself, I worked in the corporate America for about 15 years in banking and banking operations. And starting out, I came into the industry on the call center level, entry level, taking phone calls, not making the most money. You just, getting a good salary. Of course, it's more than bagging groceries, which is where my uh, I guess you can say employment career kind of started, working at a grocery store, working at a hat store, doing very low wage jobs. Once I got into corporate America, I understood that the structure is different. But one of the things that I wanted to do was to not turn down any opportunity. I looked at every opportunity, every task, every responsibility, anything that came up as a quote unquote special project. I looked at that as an opportunity to learn. That's where having a growth mindset is important. Now, you can go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. You also can go from a growth mindset to a fixed mindset. So I say that to say that as I was growing in corporate America, as I was growing in life, I'm making more money or hitting different levels of achievement and success. You can then reach a point of comfortability where you feel as if where you are is great. I don't need to. I'm already ahead of the game from compared to other people in my circle of friends that weren't making the same kind of money, not able to move the way I was moving. So I began to get a little complacent. I began to get a little comfortable. Then I realized that I wanted more. I wanted to get to another level. I seen I exposed myself to some other levels of achievement, and I realized that the way that I was living, the way that I was thinking had to change if I wanted to get there, because there's a different responsibility with every level of success that you attain. So I began to think about it from that perspective. I began to look at things from the perspective of, okay, what do I need to change personally about myself? What do I need to change personally about my environment, about the way that I'm thinking, that's going to help me be more prepared and more equipped for the next level in life? So I began to change what I was looking at. I began to change the way I moved. I even changed the way I even looked at work. I had to get back into that entry level mindset of how hungry I was when I first got into corporate America, to say, okay, what did I do to reach this level of success that I am? And then duplicate that, but then also enhance it to get to another level, because you can't have the same work ethic that you had when you weren't making a lot of money, striving to make some money to get to a level where you're making even more. And I'm only speaking from this from a corporate standpoint, but it parallels to anything, whether it's spiritual, whether it's just from a relationship standpoint as well. The same way that you start a relationship is not necessarily how you can maintain a relationship. Some of the principles that you got into when you started are something that is always going to be the baseline or the foundation of what you do and moving forward. But there's going to be some critical points within there that you're going to have to improve and enhance what it is that you're doing and what you're learning in order to move forward. So going back to corporate America, I had to realize that there's more that I have to do. There's more that I have to look at, and more time I need to invest in myself, in my education, in my vocabulary. I had to improve the way I dressed, presented myself, improve the way I communicated, if I wanted to reach another level of success when it comes to that field. Let's move it over to a spiritual standpoint, right? Uh, Me personally, I've been around spirituality and religion since I was a child, right? And as I began to grow personally, you can reach certain glass ceilings if you're not necessarily getting certain answers to questions that you want. If you're not necessarily understanding what it is that's being taught to you or conveyed to you as well, and you can become complacent. You can feel as if, okay, well, I do have some form of a basis in scripture or in this religion, and I can just get comfortable and I can do just the bare minimum to go by. But when you really realize that from a spiritual standpoint, you have a void, or you're not necessarily um, feeling full, or you're not feeling that you're getting a true benefit out of that, which you are looking to get some type of spiritual benefit from, you're going to have to change the way that you're doing things. It may take that you have to study more. It may be that you need to find someone that's a little bit more spiritually mature that you can get with and be able to understand some of the more so-called complex ideals that you have in that particular religion or in spirituality, to help you untie some of the knots that you have that is hindering your progress spiritually. The same thing with financial success or financial development, right? You could be at a plateau of making a certain amount of money, but you need to be exposed to those who have made more or who were at your level and went to a higher level, so that you can ask them some pivotal questions that can show what do you need to do in your life that's going to cause your mindset to shift from being fixed or comfortable to being hungry and looking for growth and looking for optimism, being able to be ambitious, having that so-called hustle to be able to move forward in life as well. So that's something to think about. So how to cultivate a growth mindset is, first is about, what is it that you really want out of life? If you don't have a clear idea of where you want to go, 9 times out of 10 you have a fixed mindset, because you're either comfortable with where you're at, or you've become so complacent that where you're at right now you feel is that's all it's going to be. But if you don't take time to actually figure out, where is it that I want to go, is where I am at my ultimate vision for my life? If it's not, now you need to reverse engineer and say, what do I need to do to get to my end goal? If your end goal is to be able to buy a home or buy a car, have this ideal life that you have for yourself, you have to look at where you are, where you want to be, and fill in the blanks in that line that's going to get you to where you want to go. So first, it starts off having a vision for yourself. Get a vision for yourself. Next, you then have to set realistic goals that also are realistic, but they also stretch you. They're going to challenge you. It's going to take you out of your comfort zone. It's going to cause you to have to make some drastic changes in your life that will help you stay accountable. You have to set goals that's going to keep you moving forward. They're not going to keep you on a linear level, meaning that you set goals that are achievable, but they're not easily achievable, meaning that every time you hit a goal, you had to do a little bit more. There was more effort that you have to put into this in order to reach it. And then also think about your environment. You again, you may not be able to pick up and move to another state or move to another city or move to a different neighborhood, but you can change what it is that you're consuming on a regular basis. You can change the type of conversations that you're having and the type of people that you're having conversations with. You can change what you're consuming on a regular basis. You can change the amount of time that you're investing in reading material that's not going to help you grow, and focus more attention on reading material that's going to help you grow, that's going to expand your mind, expand your vocabulary, expose you to new ways of thinking that's going to cause you to grow further. And then lastly, you have to execute. It's one thing to say, I want to change. It's one thing to begin to develop this mindset, but then you have to be willing to start taking action so that you can feel more confident that the mindset that you're growing into is one that's going to help you move closer to your goals. So think about that. How to cultivate a growth mindset. Mindset is 90% of everything that you deal with in life. Once you understand that, once your mind is set on something, the power of the mind, the power of thought, the power of moving out on thought, you realize that it's 90% mindset, 10% physical. Or you could say it's 90% mindset and 10% action. So once you have your mind made up, there's nothing more powerful than a made up mind. That's a quote from from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. There's nothing more powerful than a made up mind. So once you have your mind made up, once you know and you're clear about what it is you want to achieve, and you're willing to commit to the process that it is to achieve it, you then just got to carry it out. You just got to carry it into practice. But you have to believe it first. But once you believe it, you got to put it into practice. You can study all you want. But once you start to take that study and put it into practice, that's when you'll start seeing the real growth takes place. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Again, this is the first episode of the Think, Learn, Grow podcast, where we're focused on thinking. If you can think, you can find an opportunity to learn. If you're learning, you're creating an opportunity to grow. And anything that's not growing is dying. That can be your finances, that can be your mindset, that can be your environment, your relationships. If you're not focused on growing them, then they're focused on not growing. So it's dying. It's slowly deteriorating from the existence that it is. So let's strive not to be comfortable. Let's strive to grow. Let's take this opportunity to self-improve. Let's take this opportunity to find where we can be better and look at everything from the standpoint of what is your end goal? What is the vision that you have for yourself? If the vision that you have for yourself is to be a better version of yourself, then let's work every day to become a little bit better. If it's just 1% better every day, you become 365% better in a year. And let's take that momentum and keep capitalizing on it every day. So as always, we appreciate you for tapping into Think, Learn, Grow podcast. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. All of the information will be in the description below. And I appreciate you tapping in. Thank you.